Hi, everyone. My name is Mario Ghafari, and I'm glad here to be joining everyone in this webinar, Introduction to Immigration to Canada, brought to you by Lebanon to Canada Immigration Group, which is not an immigration consultancy group, just the name of the Facebook group, okay? And with SILA, and we are very honored to have as our guests licensed immigration consultant from Incubate, Bassel Zoueiter and his team. Before giving the floor to Joelle and Rima and Bassel, I just would like, because a lot of people ask how to verify and who's an immigration consultant and who's a legal representative. I just want to quickly show you how to check and give an example of our guest's website. I'm going to share my screen. This will stop a little bit sharing the screen of the so if you can see my here, I'm gonna start with the IRCC website. So here we're gonna post the links for all these. Learn about representatives, who can represent you, okay? So paid representative, I'm thinking people who are allowed to charge money. So somebody who's your friend, who knows a little bit about immigration, wants to help you, he's not allowed to charge you money. I'm not allowed to charge money. People who are allowed to charge money, paid representatives, are citizenship or immigration consultant, lawyers, and there's the list here where it tells you the authorized paid representative. So a lawyer, a notary in Quebec, immigration consultant, okay? An immigration consultant or a paralegal in Ontario. So the immigration consultant website, you can click on it, and this will take you to the ICCRC where you can look here for licensed immigration consultant. Now, any licensed immigration consultant, for example, Incubate, you go to their website and there's an about us or information or who are we or something like this. They have to show their logo, RCIC, okay? And they have to show you a link where you can check if indeed these consultants are registered, okay? This will take you to the ICCRC website where you can look if indeed this company or this immigration consultant is actually licensed, okay? For example, here, I hope I type it correctly.
Yeah, I haven't done this in years. I hope I'm still active.
Yeah, so here it tells you the name of the company, the contact. So anytime you want to hire a consultant, you want to make sure they are authorized. This is the way to do it for immigration consultant. Other websites, you can click on the link for IRCC for lawyers. They have to be lawyers who are registered in a law society in Canada or a notary in Quebec. So you have a way to check. One last thing I want to say, consultants can have agents. There is a whole rule of the type how the relationship between consultant and an agent that I don't know about. However, if you get in touch with someone, make sure you're getting in touch with the authentic person. Like I could create an email address and I call myself Justin Trudeau. Doesn't mean I'm Justin Trudeau. So if somebody is talking to you on behalf of Incubate, contact Incubate, make sure this person is actually authorized by them to talk to you. Okay, I'm not gonna talk anymore. I'm gonna give the floor to Joelle and Rima from SILA, and then they will take over. Thank you very much for attending this webinar and hope it's gonna be useful for everyone.
Hello, everyone. I'm Joelle. I'm based in Montreal. I've been in Canada for 15 years, and I'm here with my colleague Rima from SILA Canada. We want to welcome you all and thank Mario and Incubate for making this session possible. And we want to thank you too for attending. We hope the session will be useful for you. I'm going to take a very quick moment to talk about the Zoom etiquette and logistics of the webinar. So this session will be recorded. After it's done, we will post the link on our social media platforms and on YouTube so that you can review it if you wish. The presentation is in two parts. We have part A presented by SILA. It's a casual part telling you a bit about what to expect in Canada and why immigrate to Canada. And the second part is the more technical part related to how to immigrate to Canada and all the information concerning the programs. After that, we will have a Q&A where Incubate will answer questions related to immigration. And as attendees, you can type in your questions in the Q&A here on Zoom. We will filter them and we will choose the questions that are relevant to this topic. And then stay tuned. We will have more workshops that are going to be organized in the future. And last but not least, before the end of the session, we will post a link to a feedback form. We'd love to hear from you if the session was useful or not. I will pass the mic to Rima. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I hope you can see my screen because I had a little problem earlier. أنا هحكيكم شوي إنجليزي شوي عربي. So أنا اسمي ريما، صار لي 10 سنين بكندا. أول شيء بدي أقول thanks لجويل ولماريو وتانكس لإنكوبيت لأنهم معنا اليوم وإن شاء الله هيدا السيشن تكون كتير يوسفل لكم وتقدروا تتعلموا منها. So هيدا الثاني سيشن لنا بسيلا. So بعدنا بأول الطريق. أول سيشن كمان عملناها عن السي في. So you can also check it على الفيسبوك تبعنا وعلى الجروب تبع ماريو. وهلأ بدي أعرفكم شوي عن سيلا. So SILA stands for Support and Integration for Lebanese Abroad, Soutien et Intégration pour les Libanais à l'étranger. We were registered on the 20th of November in 2020, and we officially launched on August 4th of this year. And we are based in Montreal, but we want to help Lebanese who want to come to Canada in general, not necessarily just Montreal. And we are all volunteers, so we are not paid. We're doing this on our own time, and we just want to help people. So what we offer in terms of services, we support in immigration, integration, and we try also to organize things regarding intercultural exchange and growth. So for example, we have a buddy system. So we match people who want to immigrate with people who are in Canada so they can talk together and try to help each other to come here or to know more about life in Canada. So you can follow us on our Facebook page and you can contact us on our website. We have a form how we can help. And also you can become a volunteer or you can become a member if you are a resident as well. And I want to say hi to our members and volunteers in Lebanon, Dania and Mesa, who also collaborated on this presentation today. Today, as I said, we have with us Incubate. So there's Francine, there's Bassel, and there's Maria. And they're going to be talking in a bit, so you'll get to meet them. And I'm going to start now our part of the presentation, part A. ولح أخلط شوي بالعربي وبالإنجليزي so إن شاء الله تحبوا البرزنتيشن تبعنا. So the first part is about why immigrate and what to expect, so that's our part. And the second part is how to immigrate and the frequently asked questions, and also you will get a chance to ask your own questions. So why immigrate? So ما بدنا نقنعكم بكندا بس we want to confirm that Canada is pro-immigration. عندهم كتير programs بتساعد بهيدا الشيء وهيدا الشيء رح نكتشفه اليوم. It doesn't take long to get the citizenship. So this is one of the assets of Canada إنه تقدروا تاخدوا citizenship بسرعة. They really focus on the talent of immigrants. So they need it for their economic growth. And of course, immigrants enrich the country. So one of the first Lebanese and Arab-speaking immigrants was a Lebanese from Zahle, Ibrahim Abu Nader, ووصل على مونريال ب 1882. Second reason, Canada embraces multiculturalism. So في من كل الethnicities، في من كل البلاد بيوصلوا على كندا وبيعتبروا كندا بلدهم and they accept you as you are. So in 2016 تقريبا كان في 200,000 Canadian with Lebanese ancestry. So we are the largest group of people with Arabic speaking roots. So منا هينين نحن اللبنانيين. Third reason, Canada is inclusive. So everyone from the LGBTQ community feels at home here. Women, they have a big part in the Canadian society. They are in the labor market. So everyone feels at home here. So Kamena, in 2017, the Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, he assigned Dr. Mona Namir, who is originally Lebanese, as the Chief Science Advisor for the PM. Fourth reason, so we have a world-class education system. المدرسة هون ببلاش، وأكيد تسمعوا كثير عن الجامعات الكندية مثل McGill أو University of Toronto. So these are the one of the world's top universities. Number 5, so we have a very highly rated healthcare. We have the highest life expectancy. العالم هون بتعيش ل 82 وجارتي فرانسواز توفت كان عمرها 98 و she was in a very good health. Everyone has access to hospitals, doctors, ER at no cost. Number 6, Canada is extremely safe. So we have very, very low crime rates, and البوليس هون وين ما كان موجودة وبتساعد العالم. Oops. Number 7, a beautiful place to live in. أكيد كلكم سامعين عن الصور تبع كندا يلي بيكونوا بالبازل والبوستكاردز. So we have beautiful natural parks. We have 4 distinct seasons, and we are one of the world's cleanest cities. So it's a beautiful place to live aesthetically. Number 8, we have a democratic political system. So everyone gets to vote, including immigrants and people from all over. Once you become a citizen, you have the right to vote and to contribute to the democratic system, even by becoming an elected member of parliament or anyone in the governing system. Number 9, so we have the best benefits for workers. هون الأمات بيقدروا ياخدوا up to 9 months to 1 year and a half of maternity leave, and the dads as well. We have 2 weeks of paid vacation. So everyone feels there's a work and life balance كرمال يقدروا مش بس يشتغلوا كمان يقدروا يعيشوا الفamily life والpersonal life تبعهم. Number 10, we have the 10th largest economy in the world. أكيد this means that we need more immigrants to help to build this economy, and we have a wealth of natural resources. So ما بعرف إذا سمعتوا عنها، بس في رولا داغر اللي هي CEO تبع Cisco, and she is part of the Lebanese Canadian coalition that she helped build تيساعدوا العالم يلي من بعد the Beirut explosion to help the Lebanese. Number 11, the Canadian passport. Obviously, كلنا عابلنا Canadian passport وبيسمح لنا إنه نسافر ل 140 countries across the world without a visa. Now, what to expect in Canada? So أول ما بتوصلوا على كندا بالsettlement phase في عنا أول stage اللي هو euphoria. كلنا بنكون سوبر مبسوطين ومحمسين. So بيكون كل شيء جديد وكل شيء ياي شو مهضومين ياي شو حلو ياي شو هالسيرفيس ياي شو مهذبين ومنصير نقارن مع لبنان إنه قديش في قصص تشبه. So also in the settlement stage there's the stage 2 disenchantment. هون بتبلش الفقسة. We have good and bad experiences. Sometimes we feel depressed. Sometimes we have a good day, sometimes we have a bad day, and then we start seeing the differences between Canadians and Lebanese, and we start missing the family. So this is also very hard. Also part 2 of the disenchantment, this is when it's hard to go or to look for work. You start having problems with your family members, and also you feel guilty for leaving the people you love behind in Lebanon. So if I'm telling you about all of this, I want you to prepare you mentally for anyone who wants to come, that this is normal and this is something valid that you are going to go through when you come. So it's better to know in advance. Stage 3, this is the gradual adjustment. Here you start, adapting, gaining control. You start knowing how the life in Canada is. You have a better understanding of how it is, and you find your sense of humor. It comes back to you. Stage 4, acceptance. Now you have made some new friends. You understand the system. You don't regret coming to Canada. لأن أول كم شهر بتكون عم تقولوا شو عم بعمل هون. We start finding the balance between the values of Canadians and the values of your home country. Now, possible disappointments. Obviously, كلهم بيحكوكن عن the harsh weather وعن البرد. So في برد أكيد. بس كمان فينا نعمل ski, فيكن تعملوا activities, even bike. So there are lots of things to do. It's not because it's snowing outside that we stay at home. We have good coats. And also you have to understand that you will feel super at warm in your home. You can stay in a t-shirt even when it's -40 outside. cost of living. Obviously, a lot of you've heard about the fact that, oh, it's expensive and they take a lot of taxes. It's true. There's a lot of a big amount, a chunk of money of your salary that goes to taxes, but you get a lot of things in return: excellent public service and world-class healthcare and free education, among other things. Number three, of course, the healthcare that we talked about earlier. And the downside is there's a long wait at the emergency or in general to see a doctor. But if you work in a company, they will provide you with a private insurance, and you'll get massage and psychologists and lots of other benefits. Number four, expensive flights. Obviously, we go once a year to Lebanon and we pay a lot for the tickets, but also traveling within Canada is kind of expensive. So what we do is we do road trips. We just take the car and we go visit other areas in Canada, or we take the train or the bus. Number four, so the job market, of course, it favors the Canadian experience. However, it's possible for you to start off as a volunteer, and then slowly you will get to find a job and to build your own Canadian experience. So now it's time to talk about the immigration aspect. So Francine is going to be presenting this part, and then Maria and Bassel at the very end, all of them will be answering your questions. So thank you and see you later.
So thank you, Rima. Can everyone hear me well? And can you see my screen? Awesome. Okay, so hi everyone. Welcome again to today's webinar. راح أعمل مثل ريما 3/4 الانترودكشن راح تكون بالعربي. راح يكون شوي كلمات بالإنجليزي بس that's fine. So رح نكمل الجزء الثاني من الويبينار، ورح نحكي أكثر عن تفاصيل الهجرة، شو هن البروجرامز تبع الهجرة، وشو هن الأوبشنز يلي عندكم إياها. هيدا أول نص ساعة من الجزء الثاني تبع الويبينار. الجزء الثاني من البارت 2 يلي هو كمان نص ساعة رح يكون أكثر للأسئلة تبعكم. So Q&A، كل شيء أسئلة عندكم إياها فيكم تسألوها and we will be more than happy to answer them. So قبل ما بلش رح أعرف على السريع عن حالي وعن Incubate. So اسمي فرانسين. I'm an immigration solutions specialist. صار لي سنة مع Incubate و I'm based بلبنان. So بشتغل مع Incubate من لبنان. مش من زمان صراحة قدمت على الهجرة على كندا أنا وعائلتي. So مني كتير بعيدة عن شو أنتوا هلأ عم تمرقوا فيه أو شو يلي قطعتوا فيه أو رح تقطعوا فيه. البروسس منه هين. however منه شيء مستحيل ينعمل إذا كان عندكم مستشار مرخص يقدر يساعدكم and to guide you through the whole process. رح أعرف عن our principal consultant. So our principal consultant هو باسل زايتر. باسل أسس Incubate سنة 2013. He is basically a regulated Canadian immigration consultant، أو بمعنى آخر مستشار هجرة مرخص من قبل الحكومة الكندية. Incubate كشركة هي كمان مرخصة من حكومة كندا الفيدرالية ومن حكومة كيبك. وعندنا 3 مكاتب بكندا، بتورونتو، فانكوفر ومونريال. من سنة 2020 تقريبا من 8 سنين لهلا قدرنا نشتغل أو we were able to process آلاف الابليكيشنز أو الفايلات، أكيد فايلات هجرة وفيزا. التيم تبعنا هو مؤلف من 20 شخص ساكنين أو بيشتغلوا من كندا، برازيل، لبنان. بالمستقبل القريب إن الله راد there's a plan أن يكون في representatives بلبنان والمغرب. هذا التيم تبعنا. So التيم تبعنا جاي من عدة بلدان with different backgrounds. However كلنا عنا شيء in common غير إنه كلنا نشتغل بإنكوبيت. Basically كلنا قدمنا على هجرة على كندا. التيم كله فاهم البروسس اللي انتم رح تقطعوا فيه ومستعد obviously نساعدكم. And this is where the slogan تبع الشركة comes from. So it is built by immigrants for immigrants. بعد شغلة قبل ما أقطع على ماريا، في شيء بس لازم تعرفوه for your information. هي إنه إذا بدكم تقدموا على أوراق للهجرة أو أوراق للفيزا، فيزا يعني فيها تكون للسياحة، فيها تكون للشغل، أو فيها تكون للدراسة. شركة مرخصة بكندا هي اللي بتقدر تساعدكم بالموضوع. يعني مش بس إذا بدكم تقدموا على هجرة هيدي الشركة بتساعدكم، بس كمان إذا بدكم تقدموا على فيزا. Finally, Maria is our immigration solution specialist. صار لها مع Incubate من 2019 بمكاتبنا بفانكوفر. ماريا عندها خبرة بالهجرة من شو هن البروجرامز، شو هن اللاوز، الرولز، regulations، requirements، ورح تقدر هلا تفوت أكثر بالتفاصيل فيهم. Maria, the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Francine. All I got from that was my name and Vancouver. So I believe you just introduced me, but I will quickly share my screen on that same slide. There we go. Perfect. All right, so we're going to be switching to English. Again, just a reminder that you can type your questions on the Q&A, and Bassel and I will go through them in a few minutes. I'm going to try not to take too long. As Rima mentioned, we're going to be covering how to immigrate to Canada. So there's obviously multiple ways, but we're going to be focusing on a few that I'll just present. Just so everyone knows, I do speak English and Spanish, unfortunately not Arabic, but our team speaks many more languages. So should you require support in any other languages, just let us know. Perfect. So we're going to be focusing on how to become a permanent resident in Canada. As I just mentioned, there are different avenues. It all depends on your situation. Whatever has worked for your cousin, your brother, or your neighbor does not need to work for your case. Everyone is different in the eyes of immigration. So we have here some of the main routes, some of the main avenues. We could, for instance, look coming on a temporary residence first, such as a student or a worker, and I'll be diving into this today. It's a very important topic to discuss. You may also immigrate as a skilled professional with your foreign experience, your credentials, your languages that you have from outside Canada. Also a big focus on today's presentation in this topic. You may also come as an investor and apply through a business immigration stream. And you may also be sponsored by a family member who's a permanent resident or a Canadian citizen, either through a spousal sponsorship or other family immigration routes, such as the parents and grandparents program. Finally, there's also the avenue of refugee or asylum in Canada. We're not going to be touching in these last four topics, but we'll focus on the first two, as I just mentioned. So let's start with how to immigrate as a skilled professional. As I said, there are many factors that we can take into consideration to immigrate in this way. We're going to go through the main factors that the government considers important and that the factors that you get awarded points for. But a few of a breakdown here. So starting with languages, both official languages in Canada are English and French. So whether you have advanced level in one of the languages in combination with other factors, may be the avenue for your path to immigration. You may also consider achieving an intermediate level in both languages. We'll discuss a few programs that are very interesting in this aspect. You may also come temporarily first as a student or as a temporary worker. We'll be covering this as well. You may count with a job offer, a potential job offer from a Canadian employer, or you may have experience in an occupation in a job that is in demand in any of the provinces in Canada. Now, just before I jump into my next slide, I am gonna ask Joelle to post a poll question. We wanted to do this a dynamic session. So if you can go ahead, Joelle, and post the question number 1. So what we're asking here is, can I immigrate to Quebec through express entry? We're gonna look into the different systems, but if anyone has looked into it, if anyone has at least read into the basics of Canadian immigration, you should have an idea into this. So first answer, yes, Canada has only one unified system, or no, Quebec has a different system. Let me see, can we see the answers here? Okay, so just to not lose any time, what brings me to the next slide actually is that no, Quebec has a different system. Good. Okay, I see that 63% of you answered that. So let's clarify it for those that did not answer with Quebec has a different system. So we're going to look into 3 different avenues or 3 different routes. The federal system, it's mainly represented by express entry. It's when we're talking about economic classes, of course, it's a point-based system, and it's intended for those who want to reside in Canada outside of Quebec. So if you're planning to come to Canada and Quebec it's not in your plans, you may consider this as an option. We also have provincial programs by which we can get nominated if we are interested in a specific province, again, outside of Quebec. And it's a first step of a 2-step process that will later on be continued by the federal government. And finally, we have the selection system through Quebec called Rima. We'll discuss it as well towards the end of the presentation. Very similar idea to express entry, so it's based on a point-based system, but there's a few factors that differ from express entry. So for everyone to understand, if you have intentions to reside in Quebec, you should be considering going through the Quebec system, because if you express otherwise in express entry, if you were to create a profile and express that you want to reside in Quebec, that they will they may refuse the application should you apply for it. So 2 different systems, we're going to look into them, as well as provincial programs. Perfect. Now, express entry, as I just mentioned, point-based system that it's that pretty much selects candidates willing to immigrate outside of Quebec. It is an online system, and we look into main selection factors to qualify, organize, and select these candidates. So first factor, in our opinion, one of the most important one is languages. As I said, 2 official languages in Canada, English and French. You don't need to speak both in order to immigrate, but it will be of great advantage for you to speak both, and we'll look into this in a second. There are tests that you will need to take in order to prove your language. I'll also discuss this briefly in the next slides. But we should be considering at least an advanced level in one of the languages. Second factor, very important as well, education. So whether you have obtained your education outside or inside Canada, it gives you points under this express entry system. If obtained outside Canada, we need to go through what we call an ECA, an educational credential assessment, to get it assessed and equalized to Canadian credentials. Work experience, we'll talk a little bit of what's the definition of qualified work experience, but we want to be demonstrating anything between 1 to 3 years, because that's the range of points that we'll be getting for our express entry profile. And finally, age. So the age range that we present here is the ideal range, but it does not mean that if you are above that age, so if you are 30 and above, your immigration options are done, not at all. but it's important to know that once we reach the age of 30, we start losing some points. Nothing we can do about age, obviously. So if we'll be discussing this in the Q&A later on, but there's still options if you are above 30 to immigrate to Canada. Now, the ideal combination that we want to reach for is an advanced level of the language under the age of 30, about 3 years of work experience, and we have a bachelor and a diploma, or a bachelor and another bachelor, or a master's degree. Now, just before I move into the next slide, related to languages, Joel, if you would be kind enough to post a poll. Oh, actually, no. Actually, we're going to wait for this one. Sorry about that. And we'll move it to the next few slides. Now, language proficiency. When we look into languages, as I said, 2, English or French, not mandatory to have both. But what we want to show you here is the importance of achieving one of them at least at an advanced level. So when combining these factors that I mentioned that are important under express entry, we need to take into consideration the different levels of language that we have. So when combined with work experience, if we're looking at someone who has 3 years of work experience and a CLB 7, so an intermediate level of the language, we'll be getting 25 points for this combination. Whereas if we take the exact same length of experience combined with an advanced level of the language, so a CLB 9, we're looking at 50 points. So as you can see, the combination doubles, and it does really show the benefit of achieving an advanced language an advanced level in one of the languages. Now, when language is also combined with education, we also get this combination point. So for instance, if we have a bachelor's and intermediate level, 13 points, bachelor's and advanced level, 25 points, and then 2 or most degrees or a master's degree and advanced level, 50 points. So what we want to again explain and show you with this is the importance of pushing for that advanced level in one of the languages, whether that's English or French. And we have here a breakdown of the IELTS score. Now, very important for languages, there are 4 exams accepted, IELTS and CELPIP for English, and TCF and TEF Canada for French, and that's for express entry. Rima has, or Quebec has a few slight requirements, other tests. Now it's when I want the poll question number 2, please, Joel, which has to do with the amount of money that one needs to immigrate to Canada. So poll question number 2, how much money do I need to have to immigrate to Canada? This is obviously one of the most asked questions that we get all the time. And the answers that we have posted here, first, 5,000 Canadian dollars. 80,000 Canadian dollars. Option number 3, based on my family size, and option number 4, Canada will give me money. So please answer what you think. I'll have the answer in the next slide. Let's see what the results look like. Okay, it looks like most of you knew this one, which is the most selected one, exactly based on my family size. So you are right. The right number, or the magic number, comes from the family size that you have. So we call this proof of funds. It goes with financial admissibility. And we need to demonstrate this when immigrating through an economic program to Canada. Unless certain exceptions, such as having a job offer or having Canadian work experience. But let's assume you are coming from Lebanon with your foreign experience and your foreign education. We need to look into this table. For example, if you're coming yourself with your spouse and 1 kid, family size of 3, we'll be looking at 20,000 Canadian dollars. If you have any questions about this, please write them in the chat, how to prove these funds. We know the situation in Lebanon at the moment, and we are aware that there are questions related to this, so we'll be happy to go through them. But I'm glad most of you answered this right. Now, what I've just talked about has to do with immigrating. So planning your long-term goals into Canada, so landing as a permanent resident and potentially in the future getting your citizenship. Now, this is, as we've seen, as we've experienced in the past year or so, COVID has very much affected this. It's a lengthy process, and in many cases, we're seeing that it can take up to 2 or even 3 years until you get your approval and can land in Canada. So what we want to offer you here today as well are solutions for you to come as quickly as possible on a temporary basis. And for that, we're going to discuss how could you come with a work permit to Canada? So what allows you to come temporarily that also will allow you to work in Canada? So you may either apply for, come to study, and that will allow you to work part-time while you are attending classes, or you may be able to get a work permit based on your situation. Now, we have listed here some of the most common types of work permits. Some of them are open, some of them are closed or restricted to a certain employer. Starting with the most famous post-graduation work permit, the PGWP, which one can get once he or she has graduated from a Canadian public institution. You may also get an open work permit if you are accompanying your spouse to study in Canada. These two types of permits are open, meaning that you are free to work in any occupation as long as you have the license to do so, and as many hours as you wish. Now, you may also apply for a closed work permit. So that will be, there we go. Closed work permit, that could be based on an LMIA, a labor market impact assessment, which is pretty much sponsorship by your employer. We'll talk about the benefits of French in a second and how you could get an exemption for an LMIA. So there are certain exemption codes that will exempt your employer from the need to sponsor you, so you could directly apply for a work permit. And finally, there's International Experience Canada. I do not want to touch this one too much, so let's move on to possible exemption codes. So some of you, or most of you, may be familiarized with French, have been French educated, and you can very much utilize this skill set to immigrate to Canada. The government is actually committed to increase Francophone immigration at a federal level. So we're looking mainly at immigration outside of Quebec. And we can utilize this French in many ways, starting with the bonus points that we get in our Express Entry profile. So the following combination can give you up to 62 extra points for having a second language in French and an upper intermediate level, such as CLB7 and B2, in combination with an intermediate level of English. For you to understand, 62 points is more than having a job offer in Canada. It's more than having 1 year of experience in Canada. It's a lot of points that you can benefit from demonstrating that intermediate level of French. It was announced about a year ago. So again, this shows the commitment of the government to improve this Francophone immigration. Now, the LMIA exemption code that I was just mentioning, what this pretty much means, an exemption code means that your employee does not need to demonstrate to the government the need of hiring you because you're exempted under certain circumstances. In this case, your exemption comes from being able to speak an intermediate, upper intermediate level of French, a B2, that's CLB7 that we were just talking about, having a job offer in Canada in a qualified position, 0A or B, under the National Occupational Classification, that this job offer and you're willing to set outside of Quebec, so again, federal immigration, and your employer would not need to present this LMIA, this sponsorship. Now, French can also be utilized to immigrate through provincial programs. We're going to review 3 today, but just so everyone knows, there are plenty provincial programs, and it all depends on your specific profile and your skill set for us to determine what's the best one for you. So, starting with Ontario famous French-speaking skilled worker program. Again, it's a commitment from the provincial government to increase Francophone immigration. It's part of the Express Entry system, meaning that we would need to be eligible for Express Entry, and the province will directly nominate us from there. Now, what are the requirements for this program? So we need to have at least a bachelor's degree, at least 1 year of work experience in a qualified occupation, full-time, an intermediate level of English, an upper intermediate level of French, again, that B2, that's CLB7. And we need to be eligible for express entry, so score those 67 points under the eligibility grid. Now, the score range that you see here is what's been selected in the past year or so. So our CRS range under express entry, if it falls under these points, you have a high chance of getting invited under this program. Another very interesting program, that we're going to discuss also have to do with French, but just before I jump into that, explain to you how provincial programs work. So they all are tailored to the province's needs. Each province has anything between 4 to 6 or even 10 substreams or categories. So there are more than 60 available provincial programs as of today. Now, first option could be you get selected based on your occupation. So as I said, if you have experience in an occupation that's in demand. Second option would be if you have a job offer from an employer in a specific province. Most provinces offer this option, but you need to have that job offer. Another option is if you have work experience or have studied in that province, so you have already adapted somehow to that province, and after completed certain years of study or experience, apply for the provincial program. Now, Saskatchewan is a very interesting program as well. It has been very active for the past year or so, despite COVID, despite the pandemic. And they also started awarding bonus points for those who speak French. So it is also part of the express entry system, very similar to Ontario, but we would also need to create an expression of interest under Saskatchewan in this case. Eligibility requirements also have that bachelor's degree, at least that 1 year of qualified experience. And what's very different from this program in Ontario is that this program targets certain occupations. So only certain NOCs are selected, only certain job positions are selected under this specific Saskatchewan program. You know, if you want to understand if your NOC has been selected or if it's in demand, you can always reach out to us and we'll be happy to answer that for you. Intermediate level of English. And as I said, you get extra bonus points if we achieve an upper intermediate level of French. There is no job offer required, but as I said, it's not restricted. So only certain occupations would be selected. And they obviously have their own point system. So within this range, you have a high chance of getting selected. And New Brunswick, this is on the northeast side of Canada. It also presents a great opportunity for those who speak French, and it is also, some of the programs are part of the express entry system. Now, this table summarizes pretty much all the streams that are available under this specific province. As you can see, they have a strategic initiative stream for those who can speak at least an intermediate level of French. Again, have that year work experience and the bachelor's degree, and show those ties to New Brunswick. So we just wanted to show you these 3 programs to explain to you that there are routes that not for all programs you need to have a job offer or have studied in Canada. You can very much utilize your languages to immigrate. Now let's talk about Quebec very quickly. I don't want to take too much of the time. I know most of you will have questions. So as I was explaining at the very beginning, Quebec has a different selection system than express entry. It's called a Rima. Same concept, meaning that it is based on selecting candidates on a specific score or points. But the breakdown of these points comes from priorities that Quebec has. So for instance, French here it's mandatory, at least at an upper intermediate, preferably advanced level. And what we've been noticing is that in the past, in the most recent draws, Rima has been selecting specific job positions, specific NOCs. Okay. Quebec has also what we would see the equivalent of a provincial program, which is called the PEQ, Quebec Experience Program. And in this one, we're looking at coming to Quebec through studies or as a temporary worker. So for instance, under the temporary worker one, upper intermediate level of French is required. at least 24 months of experience in Quebec in a qualified occupation 0A or B. And these are some examples of the work permits that you need to have achieved that experience with. And if you decide to come as a student, you also have options after graduation in Quebec, but for that you'll have to complete certain requirements. So if you're coming for a post-secondary diploma or a bachelor's degree, you will need to study at least for 2 years, which is equivalent to 1,800 hours, and then complete 1.5 years or 18 months of experience in a qualified occupation 0A or B. If you come to study your master's or your PhD, so at a postgraduate level, the requirement then goes down to 12 months, but still in a qualified occupation. So that's it for my part. We're going to be answering questions now, but just before I jump into that, just briefly explain to you how we can help you and what we do. Part of our services include consulting and advising our clients, assessing the cases case by case, and preparing an assessment report to explain the options. As I said, every profile is different in the eyes of immigration, and there's no solution that fits all. There's really not, that's not a thing here. There are many programs, as I said. It all depends on your experience, your level of education, whether you have family here or not. So you can always schedule a consultation with us. We're actually offering over 30% off for Lebanese clients on our consultation rate. So if you have any questions about scheduling one or you need any help, you can always let us know. We'll provide the contact details later. So now I see that there's a lot of questions in the chat. I'll also like to introduce Bassel here. I'm not sure, there we go. And we'll be going through these questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Maria. You can have some water now.
Yes.
Thanks. Thanks actually for all this information, just because it's important for people to understand that there's not one way to do things. There's not one program that fits everybody. Every profile is going to be different. Everybody's family circumstances are different. Maria tried to stress on French, not because she wants everybody to learn French, that would be amazing, but just because she wants to demonstrate something specific, which is Canadian immigration is based on the government objective of something called creating active citizens. An active citizen is somebody who's going to come to Canada and integrate. Somebody who's going to come to Canada and pay taxes. Somebody who's going to come to Canada and give something back. It's not about coming to Canada, taking a Canadian passport and saying, I see you later, and leave. Or somebody is going to say, oh, I want to take the citizenship without living in Canada, and I want to go double my salary in Dubai, right? It's not about that. That's not the government's objective. The government created a system to help people integrate in Canada and come here and give back while they actually benefit from, you know, being Canadian, healthcare system, education system, safety, and everything that Rima was mentioning. So our job as consultants or as licensed firms is to, first of all, guide you through the right procedures. Where should you start? What to do? Should I do this? Should I do that? Because fortunately, we tend to listen to what other people tell us, our cousins, our friends, our neighbors, and their experience might not apply to you. Because they failed or because they were successful doesn't mean you should follow the same system. So everything has to be customized to the person's circumstances, and based on that, that can be proceeded with. And the other thing I want to mention to you is something very important that all of us tend to neglect. What Maria was mentioning earlier is we call it TRS, or temporary resident status. Temporary resident status has become something very important for Lebanese nationals because of COVID, the procedures for immigration are taking much longer. We no longer say 6 months. Now we say 1, 2, and 3 years, right? So, but I want to come sooner. You don't have to pick between the two. These two would run in parallel, meaning you can come to Canada to visit, you can come to Canada to study, you can come to Canada to work, and at the same time, your immigration application is running in parallel. The processing time for it is 3 to 6 months. This is 1 to 2 years or even more. right? So you don't have to stop your life waiting to hear back from the government. You don't have to wait for the draws to start again for the French speaking, for the general draws. You can potentially consider redoing your profile and focusing on provincial nominee programs. We have very smart clients. Recently, what they've done is said, oh, there hasn't been any express entry draws, since December of 2020. So what am I going to do? Well, what they've done is they changed their focus to go after the provinces. And some of them went through the Ontario French-speaking skilled worker. It's not to get 600 points. Trust me, these clients have over 450, 500 points. They're super beyond qualified. But the government is not selecting under the federal skilled worker, but the provinces are selecting. So what they've done is they got a notification of interest from the province. They went through the process, not for extra points. The total point is over 1,000 points. Nobody cares about that. But they became eligible under the PMP draws. And these draws have never stopped in the past year and a half or 2 years of COVID. So if you look at the links that we've shared with you, you will see that the draws for PMP never stop. Of course, CEC is still running. And then the freeze has been on the Federal Skilled Worker Program. And before I even read the questions, when are the draws going to start? Nobody knows, right? We thought it's going to be now. CEC stopped. FSW stopped, PMP is still running. So I think the government is just right now, and there has been an election and there's a new minister of immigration. He just went to Ottawa, redoing things, redoing the budgets and, restarting the Federal Skilled Worker Program, because that is the bread and butter of immigration when it comes to Canada. There's around 400,000 immigrants that are supposed to come in every year. Over 60% of them, they all come from this program. This cannot be stopped. It must be restarted. Canada cannot survive as a country with 36 million in a population versus, the States for, 360 million. It's the same land mass, but only 10-20% of the population. So of course this is coming. When? Don't listen to nobody knows. I've seen a lot of comments online about, yeah, it's going to start next year. I'm sorry, but unless you have Trudeau on a special line, there's no way for you to know that. Okay, so just watch the trends. When something official comes out, like Mario was also saying earlier, there is something called the law and there is something called an opinion. Nobody can give you an opinion on, just follow the law. When Mario shares something with you, when I share something with you, Maria, anybody else, will give you links directly to the government. And that's it. That's the only thing you believe. Other than that is, I believe, in from one ear, out from the other. Anyway, I just wanted to say that before we start answering questions. Joelle is going to be my savior today, and she's going to help us with the questions just because I was assisting Maria with some links. So Joelle, you tell me how you would like to do the questions, because I know there's questions to pretty much everybody here, not just me.
Yes, so we can start by the first question is from Sario. What is the fastest way for immigration?
Okay, so like I was mentioning earlier, there is no such thing as the fastest way because of two things. Number one, COVID has created a huge backlog. So the official processing time of a permanent residence application in Canada is 6 months. This is what the government says. Oh, we're going to process 80% of all applications in 6 months or less. This is gone. Right now, the soonest, and even the government removed the tickers, or they call it the ticker bar in the PR application status. It's gone because they cannot make any commitments towards processing time. There's 1 or 2 years in processing times, depending if you're going to go through PMP or not. This is number one. Number two, the Federal Skilled Worker Program has not had any draws since December of last year. So even if you're beyond super qualified, we have over 20 clients right now who have been in express entry, waiting for a Federal Skilled Worker Program. And they're now forced to go into a different route, which is the provincial nominee programs, in order for them to actually be invited and proceed with a PR application under PMP. So fastest way, no such thing. What you should consider is, how can I come to Canada on a temporary resident status while my PR application is being processed? How long is the backlog going to take to be flushed? The new Minister of Immigration is going to have a lot of big decisions to make when it comes to these things. Certain types of applications are being prioritized, but as of right now, I consider immigration is a 2-year process. Add to it a work permit, study permit, or any other opportunity. There's something real quick I want to mention is those who have a visitor visa in Canada, you do have an opportunity where work permit applications have to be submitted from outside Canada, even if you're going to be sponsored by somebody through an LMIA. Now, when you come as a visitor and you want to apply for a work permit, you actually have to apply from outside Canada. But because of COVID, they actually extended a specific policy that allows you to apply for a work permit from inside Canada up to, I think, March 31st, 2022. So if you do come on a visit visa, right, and then you want to change your status to a worker, until the end of Q1 of 22, you are actually permitted to do so. After that, you're going to have to exit the country and re-enter and do something called a flagpole turn and go to the border. They're just reopening things. I think that potentially answers the question, Joel.
All right, so another question, that if someone received a PNP and if they couldn't settle in the province that they were invited to, how many years should they stay in this province, or if they can go transfer to another province?
I love this question. This question talks about the core of the provincial nominee programs. So here's the thing. People need to understand the difference between intention and misrepresentation. Now, intention means I intend to move to Alberta. I intend to move to Saskatchewan. I intend to move to Yukon. This is my intention. I've done certain research. I've done certain effort. Maybe I have a friend there. Maybe I looked for jobs there. I intend to move there. I applied through the provincial nominee program of that province. If that provincial nominee program leads me to permanent residency, let's say I became a permanent resident, and then things are just not working out. It's not working out in that province. No jobs, whatever it is. And I decide then to move to another province. That is totally acceptable because that is protected under their Charter of Rights and Freedoms. And as a Canadian permanent resident or a citizen, actually anybody in Canada, you have the right of freedom of mobility without taking permission of anybody else. So if you change your mind after going to the province, there is no minimum number of days or years that you need to spend in that province. You can move as long as your intention initially was true. Now, where's misrepresentation? Misrepresentation is, my cousin told me the easiest way to go to Canada is to apply there through New Brunswick. I have zero intentions to go to New Brunswick. I'm never stepping a foot in New Brunswick. I'm not staying there. So I'm going to use their program to apply. And then as soon as I arrive, I'm going to move to another province. That's misrepresentation because you lied to the government. You gave the provincial government of New Brunswick a hope that you are going to go help their local community, and you never had that intention. So to answer that question, there is no minimum requirements as long as you try to live in that province and work in that province. If it works, wonderful. If not, if you'd like to move, there is no minimum requirements. But for you to make an intention to never live in that province before you came and immediately move, you could potentially be held as misrepresentation and banned from the country for 5 years.
Thank you, Bassel. So another question related to the PNP is from Rita. She's asking if we need to send an express of interest to New Brunswick for the French stream, or if they pick up profiles from the EE pool.
Okay, another excellent question here. So let's just put the tree of PNP or how it works. The provincial nominee programs in any province, they're split into two different express entry substreams, and there are non-express entry substreams. Meaning every program, let's say I'm going to use Ontario as an example. The French-speaking skilled worker program in Ontario, all you need to do is you need to have a express entry profile. The provincial government of Ontario will go pick you out and give you a notification of interest inside express entry and invite you to create an expression of interest with them, and then go ahead and submit the application with PNP and go back, finish up with express entry. But there's another group of PNP programs that are not in express entry, where you actually have to go to create a profile in that province, the provincial immigration system, and go through their monthly draws. And after you're done, the federal government of Canada created a brand new, they call it the new PR portal. The new PR portal allows you to submit a PR application outside of express entry for PMP programs that are not under express entry. So to answer Rima's question is, depending on the program she wants to apply under, she might have to create an expression of interest in the province if this program is not under express entry, or create an express entry profile, then continue with the province. And in the end, either file a PR application through express entry or file a PR application through this new PR portal instead of doing a paper-based application like it used to be in the past.
All right, thank you. So is there a province that you would recommend for Lebanese that would be the best way to immigrate?
See, here's the thing. Immigration is part of integration and staying. So sure, there are easier, look, the further away you go outside of Ontario and Quebec and BC, so Toronto, Vancouver, and Montreal, if you stay away from those provincial governments, they relax the regulations for you to be able to apply. But the bigger question is, are you really going to stay there, right? Those applicants who are coming to us and say, please apply for me under the Saskatchewan PMP, are you really going to stay there, right? So the question is not as easy as, oh, great, I qualify under Saskatchewan, I'm going to apply there. Respect the immigration system. Are you really going to do your, and I've heard this term before, am I going to do my jail time in New Brunswick or in Yukon? And if you are going to do it, are you going to really stay? So ease of applications, yes. The smaller provinces, they have easier programs to apply under, but even these provinces are becoming smarter. They are creating their own expression of interest system. They're creating their own monthly draws. Saskatchewan has their own draws now, and you have to not only qualify for that program, you have to have an in-demand occupation that they care about and a specific score in their system in order for you to be invited to apply there. Yeah, so there is no such thing as what's the easiest. Easiest just depends on you. If you speak French, you don't need PMP. You can just be, go directly through express entry. If you have advanced English, same thing. If you have a family member in Canada, same thing. If you're going to come study and work in Canada, same thing. So let us guide you through the specific programs that could potentially meet you by understanding your own personal requirements. And then we tell you, look, these are the top 3 options that you could potentially consider because of your personal circumstances.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Bassel. So now we have questions related to the Lebanon situation and specifically the money in the banks. So some people, let's say, have their money in different banks, 2 or 3 banks. Other people cannot have a bank statement, or given the situation that the money is being reserved now. So what would be the solution for that?
We did process plenty of PR applications through COVID and through the banking crisis in Lebanon. And they were actually successful. So the first thing I want to do is I need to clarify this misconception, and I've seen this in forums before. If you're in Lebanon, your money is worthless. The Canadian government will never accept your money. False statement. They do. They do because you need to understand how the Canadian law works. Canada says financial admissibility, which is what Maria was mentioning, is based on your family size. Let's say you and your spouse, it's 16,000 Canadian dollars. These 16,000 Canadian dollars, you just need to show the Canadian government that you actually have this money. This money is yours, as in it was never borrowed from anybody else. And this money, you're not going to give it to the government. You're not going to spend it. Savings. And then this money is going to be brought with you to Canada when you immigrate here to take care of your expenses for the first year in the case you don't have a job. So technically, the only time you're really going to transfer this money or cash it in or turn it into a traveler check is the day you immigrate to Canada. Now, for you to demonstrate your financial admissibility, for you to be able to demonstrate to the Canadian government you did not rob a bank and get this money, borrow this money from mom and dad, and you're going to give it to them. Because I've seen that before, where people, they go and take $20,000, they deposit it in their bank account, they come up with a bank statement, and the next morning they send the money back. That's fraud and misrepresentation, because that's not really your money. You borrowed it to meet certain conditions. What you need to do is the following. You need to get a bank statement for 6 months to show that the money is yours and it's been stable for 6 months. If you do so, you do not have to give source of funds, meaning this is the bank statement for 6 months. If you're going to give a bank statement that is shorter than 6 months, for an example, a bank statement for 3 months, a bank statement for 1 month, then you need to show the source of funds and explain why this money was not in your possession for 6 months, or why your bank statement is shorter than 6 months. Dear officer, the situation in Lebanon is terrible. I was unable to get a bank statement for 6 months. I reactivated my bank account. I deposited $16,000 in this bank account. This money was actually withdrawn 1.5 years from my account, and I gained it through accumulation of my salary over 5 years. And this is the source I'm showing you, or where this money came from. Unfortunately, I have to keep the money as cash because of what's happening in Lebanon. And now I open up an account. Currency does not matter. Lebanese pounds, US dollars, in Dubai, in Canada, in Lebanon, doesn't matter where the account is, as long as the account is in your name or your spouse's name, if you're a common law partner or you're married. It just cannot be like a student visa. I'm going to get sponsored by my parents. It has to be within the family. Now, there are certain Canadian banks, around 3 or 4, if I'm not mistaken, that allow you to open up something called a pre-arrival bank account. A pre-arrival bank account is a bank account that allows you to do one large deposit from Lebanon into a Canadian account under your name. They will hold this account for you for 8 months, and then they will ask you to really activate it after you arrive in Canada by showing up at one of their branches, and you will sign a document and show your ID, and that account becomes yours. And if you don't, they'll force you to close that account and take the money out. So there are solutions we can talk to everybody about when it comes to their personal circumstances of what they can do and cannot do. A lot of Lebanese are moving to Dubai. A lot of people have now fresh US dollars. A lot of people are converting it to Lebanese liras and based on their new salaries and whatnot. The value of your money is based on what the Canadian government considers. So if you go online to the Central Bank of Canada and say, 1 Canadian dollars equals how many US dollars, or 1 Canadian dollars, how many Lebanese liras does it equal to? That's the rates that the Canadian government is going to use. What your bank is forcing you to withdraw your money under by ripping you off, let's say, that's none of Canada's business. What's happening locally, that's on you. You show me how much you have, and then the day you immigrate, show me this amount when you arrive, and I'm good to go with it. So I didn't want to speak in detail about this, but I know it's a very important topic, and a lot of people are stopping their immigration applications because of this. Don't. The other thing I also want to remind everybody is, if you do consider coming to Canada on a temporary resident status application, TRV, or a visitor visa, so a visitor or a student permit or a work permit, the financial admissibility for that is totally different, much lower amount. Number one. Number two, somebody can actually sponsor you for those. So number two. Number three, if you do decide to apply for immigration from inside Canada under the CEC program or the Canadian Experience class, you do not have to show financials. You don't even have to show bank statements. You don't have to show your financial admissibility. You're exempted from this. So some of our clients who literally have cash under their mattress at home and is like, I don't want to deal with this, come to Canada as a student or as a worker or as a visitor, and then get your Canadian experience and apply from inside Canada under CEC. You don't even have to worry about showing your financial admissibility. My life is good.
Bassel, on that topic, actually, Saria has a question. So she's saying, if you are going to consider moving to Canada as a student, should it be strictly to do a master's degree, or can it be a technical one? For example, learning carpentry, knowing that I have a bachelor's degree. And after finishing the program, do I get a temporary work permit? Actually, because you were talking about the fact that it's a way to come here, maybe just tell us about which conditions to study, and also what is the program that they can follow right after or when they start working? Is it going to be immigration again, or there's another program?
Absolutely. And who was this that asked it?
Taria.
So Taria, actually, I thank you for asking this question, is because this procedure of coming to Canada is very new to not just Lebanon, to the Middle East in general, because most people always think immigration, immigration, immigration. What you need to understand is the rest of the world. We're very big in Brazil, we're very big in Mexico, we're very big in Colombia. 99% of all people who come from these markets come as students first. And then they start working in Canada and integrating and applying for immigration. So it's always for them a two-step process. But in the Middle East, we're used to either coming to Canada to study when younger, 17, 18-year-olds, finished high school. I want to go to study in Canada and do my university. And then logically, you think after my bachelor's, there's going to be a master's, and after master's, there's going to be a PhD. This is how we've been pre-programmed. Canada has this other layer between a bachelor and a master's degree called post-graduation diplomas, or vocational training or technical training, because Canada cares about more hands-on experience than anything else. So if you have a bachelor's degree and you would like to do something called continuation of studies, or if you would like to change your career, you have to convince an officer that you have something called the study plan. So you have to draft some sort of a letter to explain to the officer that, look, this is where I came from, this is my experience, this is my education, this is all I've known, and this is how I'd like to continue my education in Canada, because it's very important for my career, and these are the opportunities I'm going to get in the future, and this is this, and this is that. And this is why Canada, nowhere else. If you perfect this study plan and explain to the officer why you're going to be doing this, regardless if it's a master's degree or a post-graduation diploma for 1 or 2 years, you should be okay, and your study permit application is going to get accepted. When that happens, if you're unmarried, if you're on your own, then you're going to get something called a study permit. The study permit is, some people refer to it as a student visa, that will allow you to work temporarily for 20 hours a week while you're studying until you graduate. When you graduate, you're going to get something called a PGWP, a post-graduation work permit. Depends on the program strength and the duration. You're either going to get a 1, 2, or 3-year work permit after you graduate. For most people, it's a 5-year plan. I'm going to study for a 1.5 years, 2 years, and then I'm going to get a work permit for around 2 to 3 years. So I have a plan for 5 years. And within these 5 years, I'm going to get 1 year of experience in Canada and apply for immigration, or go through one of the PMP programs. Now, if you're married, or if you have a common law partner, you have a spouse, the spouse can get an open work permit at the same time as you're studying to work full-time, to give money to the family. And then after you graduate and you get your PGWP, your spouse will get another work permit for the same duration as yours. So again, your spouse could potentially work for 5 years full-time, which means if your spouse works in Canada for 1 year while you're even still in school, the spouse becomes the principal applicant for immigration instead of the person who's studying, so you can support each other. So if you're going to come to Canada with a spouse, you're looking at an income and a half. One person working full-time and the person studying half an income. And then after they graduate, 2 full-time income from both applicants. If you're unmarried, it's just you. I also use the term common law, and I don't want to get into the details of it, but I need people to understand that there is a category in Canada called common law partners. Common law partners are people who are not married, but they have a conjugal relationship. They live together for 12 months, and they have documents to show that they have been living together, regardless of their gender, and they actually financially depend on each other, emotionally depend on each other. They actually have a similar lifestyle. They have a joint bank account, health insurance, whatever it is. Now, I know in Lebanon, this might not be an option. So some of our clients, actually, they end up flying to Cyprus, or they go to another country to get something called a civil union, right? And then after that, they apply through this to come to Canada. And if that's not an option, then they come to Canada and they live together for 1 year and then apply through common law that way. So,
Bassel?
Yes.
Sorry, because we don't have much time left. I was wondering if we could do like a quick question, quick answer. What do you think, just for the people remaining, so that
there's as much information as I can, but if we are limited in time, we can speed it up, no problem.
Okay, so we have two people, Lina and Sahar, who both lived here in Canada. Lina lived for 3 consecutive years in Laval, and she didn't get a citizenship. And Sahar, they were permanent resident for 2.5 years, and then they renounced their PR and went back home. So they're wondering, for their 2 cases, if something can be done about this in terms of coming back to Canada or getting a faster track.
Right. So the last 2 links I've shared is about renewing a PR card and also meeting citizenship regulations. For you to become a Canadian citizen, you have to physically live in the country for 1,095 days in the 5-year duration, or they call it the citizenship eligibility duration. If you don't do that, unfortunately, you won't be able to apply for citizenship. So you have to live in Canada for 730 days out of the 5-year duration in order for you to renew your PR card. If not, then you're going to have to renounce your status and start the process again. So to answer the question is, we will have to evaluate your case. Why did you leave? What did you do? How many times did you try to come back to Canada again? Did you try to reestablish? Do you have any children here? There's something called HNC, Humanitarian Compassionate Consideration for Best Interest of the Children. So there is a case-by-case scenario. Your previous status potentially is not really going to help you much in applying for immigration again. If there's a way to save it, great. Otherwise, you're going to have to get rid of it and start all over.
Okay, thanks. So another series of questions from Dania. She's asking, can we directly go to Quebec if going through express entry? No, exactly.
Absolutely not. That's what I'm talking about. That's misrepresentation. Now, if you apply through express entry, you go to Ontario, you stay there for a couple of months, and it ends up being horrible. And you actually later on, when you do an interview for citizenship, have really legitimate reasons of why you ended up moving from Ontario to Quebec. That is totally fine. Like I said, initial intention is to reside in a specific location. In this question is, you're promising the government you're going to live outside of Quebec. You can't just land and immediately go to Quebec. That's misrep.
So if she applies, for example, for a work permit in Quebec while waiting for an ITA in express entry, would that be possible?
Like I said, intention. Why are you're saying that you're going to live outside of Quebec, but you're now applying for a work permit in Quebec? The government has all these applications on file whenever they're making that decision. So they're going to be like, hold on a second. You're telling me you're going to live outside and at the same time you're applying for a work permit in Quebec. Explain yourself. You said you're going to live outside and suddenly you haven't even got your PR status through express entry or whatever, and you tell me you're going to live. Time out. Explain. Now, the government is never going to refuse you based on, oh, I think, right? There's something called a PFL, a procedural fairness letter. Listen, I feel like there's something shady going on here. Explain yourself before I refuse you. And then you
they do ask that question before they refuse you.
Absolutely, yes.
So Dania, again, what if my NOC is not in demand and my score cannot be lowered to reach the Ontario French stream range? Any other chance other than FSW?
Well, I mean, other than FSW is going to be CEC with your Canadian experience. And if your occupation is not in demand and your score is very high, I'll give you a tip. It's up to you to decide on what level of education you want. If you redo, I posted a link for the CRS calculator, redo your score, and let's say instead of master's, put bachelor's. And with the bachelor's, if you were in the 450 range and under the, let's say, French-speaking skilled worker range, redo your ECA, get an ECA just for a bachelor's, not for the master's, and redo your express entry profile. And then you'll be able to get a notification. Talk to details for an ECA. You need to show your work experience through the medical. If you pass your medical, if you pass the security clearance, if you pass the financial admissibility check, these are the 3 main reasons somebody can get refused. Other than that, if you have all your documents set, you should be fine. And you never withheld any information. Very important. You can never go back to the government. And I've seen this, unfortunately, in so many applications. I misunderstood the question. The government doesn't care. It's your problem. Go hire somebody to explain to you the law. If you got a refusal from Canada, even, sorry, from the US or any other country, even for a visit visa, you have to disclose it. Oh, I forgot. Application is not only refused and you're banned from the country for 5 years. I've seen this on a daily basis. I didn't understand the question. Why can't they understand? I'm going to write a letter to the officer. Nobody cares. It's your rule number one about immigration. The onus is on the applicant. You don't know how to do it? Hire somebody to do it for you. I'm the government. I don't expect to even use my brain when it comes to these things because I give you your opportunity. So be very careful when it comes to the inadmissibility factors.
So we're going to take two last questions and maybe a quick answer so that which one is better, WES or IQAS? Because I heard that IQAS are assessing more certifications. However, WES does not recognize them as certifications. This question is from Chloe.
Not true. So there is no such thing. These organizations are designated and they have their own specialization when it comes to certifying certain degrees. Yeah. So WES is the general one. If you're a doctor, if you're a physician that's practicing as a physician in the NOC of a physician, you have to go through the Medical Council of Canada. If you're a pharmacist, you have to go through the Pharmacy Board of Canada. So these three are the main ones. Now there is the University of Toronto, there's ICAS, there's a bunch of other ones. There's a total of 5. There's no difference between WES and all of them. They all do the same thing. But the only thing that we know about ICAS is if you have a law degree or you studied law, we always recommend to go through ICAS because they put something specific, which is called professional degree in law. They don't put Bachelor of Law for 5 years. They say professional degree in law. And the reason why this is important is because a professional degree in law is equivalent in terms of points and effect in immigration system as a master's degree. So is ICAS better than WES? Absolutely not. Is WES better than U of T? Absolutely not. They're all the same, except for if you studied law, go through ICAS. And then if you're a pharmacist or a doctor, you're forced to. And practice as a pharmacist or a doctor, you have to go through a different organization to get your EC. So, and one last question. My wife got accepted to apply to the PR. She is there with the kids. Can I apply for a temporary visitor visa until PR process is done? That's from AK Nasser. I'm assuming what he's mentioning is that he is going through something called an SSP or a spousal sponsorship application. So a sponsorship application is when a Canadian permanent resident or a Canadian citizen who applied for immigration or want to sponsor a family member, and this person is going to come. Now, this application processing time is 1 year, regardless if you're inside or outside Canada. Problem is, potentially in his case, is the fact that he's in Lebanon, doesn't have access to come to Canada, potentially submitted a spousal sponsorship application from outside, or is waiting to come to Canada and then apply from inside. In both cases, the processing time is 1 year. The only problem is if you submit the application from outside, there's going to be a disconnection of the family of 12 months, which potentially is the situation. Should you apply for a TRV, a temporary resident visa? Absolutely, but be careful with that application. Do not, under any circumstance, submit a visitor visa application saying, I want to get a visit visa so I can reunite with my family in Canada and never leave Canada because I'm going to apply for my PR. Thank you. The officer is going to say refused. Thank you. The reason why this application is going to get refused is because the officer is assessing that application based on temporary resident regulations. You cannot show any intentions of permanently staying in Canada with a visit visa. So you need to say, I'm going to go visit my family. I miss my family, I want to see them. I'm keeping my family back, my life back home, and I'm going to finish a short visit and I'm going to go home. If you do that, it's fine. If you show your intentions to stay, application is going to get refused. Unlike the US, there is no, they call it the fiance visa, or hey, I'm about to get a visa in order for me to get sponsored in the US. Such program does not exist in Canada. There has been complaints to the government. You need to allow spouses to be able to visit and get a TRV, but as of now, there is no special TRV for spouses who are in Canada.
Thank you so much, Bassel. For all the people who wrote us questions and we didn't answer them, please, you can email us. So don't worry, we will answer them if you email us because we didn't get a chance to do that today. I'm just going to wrap up my bit, and then Bassel and the team of Incubate will wrap up, and Mario as well. So for us, I just want to say thank you for our volunteers in Lebanon, Dania, and Mesa. They prepared a document with local knowledge on the ground that we're going to share now with you guys, so that you can get like contacts and information on the ground, and you can also reach out to us or talk to them. For our upcoming events, we have a few about integration and employment. We're trying to organize this one to match employers and job seekers. And we're going to do also some events here locally to try to find something for the parents to do, all the parents who live here. You can follow us on Facebook. You can visit our website, and you can become a member. Also, please, we're going to post now the feedback form. It's very important for us to know your feedback and to see how we can help for upcoming sessions. And now I'm just going to pass the mic to the Incubate team, and please wait for Mario. He wants to tell you something at the very end too. Thank you so much.
I'll let Maria and Francine go. I talked too much today.
Well, thank you, Rima, and thank you everyone for attending. It was a pleasure to be here today. I hope that at least you got the idea that there's an option, or at least there's a plan that could be drafted for everyone differently. There's not a one route for everyone. So if you know, with the information that we presented today, you still have more questions, or you still like to understand your avenues, please feel free to contact us. We have WhatsApp. You can send us a WhatsApp message to this number. You can also book a consultation directly through our website, or you can send us an email to connect@incubate.ca, and our team will be happy to help. So thank you everyone for coming, and I wish everyone a good weekend.
Francine, if you'd like to say something real quick before we end.
It's technically what Maria said. Thank you for the webinar. I hope everyone like got to the responses or the answers they were looking for. Otherwise, as Maria said, we will be more than happy to assist you either by emailing us or booking a consultation with us. Have a nice evening, everyone.
So, and from my perspective, I'm not going to talk about us. I want to say thank you to Mario, to Ojeil, and to Rima for everything that they're currently doing and for everything that they continue to do. As we've noticed today, nobody is soliciting anything to anybody, right? This is more about information. It's more about giving you the knowledge, and then you do as you please. Nobody's telling you give us money, you know what? Nobody wants that. If you choose to work with Rima, to work with Mario, to work with me or anybody else, great. If not, that is totally fine. But what Mario is doing is opening the gate of telling you, listen, there are people who care about you. What SILA and Rima and Ojeil are doing, they're saying, listen, we are here to bridge this gap, to give you access to networks. So you don't have to go through the same pains, let's say I have gone through, or she has gone through, or somebody else is. So we're here to help in any way we can. If we can help you, we will tell you that. If we can't help you, we'll tell you that. So thank you so much, Rima. Thanks, Ojeil. Thanks, Mario. I'll give you the mic. There's not much we can say from our side, other than we're really proud of the fact that we will actually be part of the initiatives that you'll do, and hopefully more to come.
Thank you very much, Bassel, for the beautiful, kind words. عن جد, يعني, I think everybody, like Bassel said, like there's nothing wrong for a professional to charge fees for doing webinar like this, but Bassel and his team are not charging it, doing it for free. And please, if anybody in our group is aware, anyone charging fees for immigration who is not licensed, please let me know. They are free to do it outside the group, but in the group, no. أكيد people who are teaching IELTS, who are teaching TCF, they're welcome to advertise for free. ما في مشكلة أبدا. But anybody who's charging money for immigration purposes, please, they have to be authorized to do this according to what you said at the beginning. And let me know. They're welcome to do it outside the group, but not in the group. This is Canadian based, and we want to stay legal. I thank everybody who attended, everybody who presented, and until next webinar, I hope, and you have questions, of course, send us in the group. We try to answer as much as we can. Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you.